All right, so once again, good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining. um, the agenda for what we're going to have today, right? So before we jump on to the tools and other factors, quickly let's understand the main purpose for all of us here is because you want to move into DevOps or you want to change your career into DevOps or you're looking for a better profile in DevOps. So for that, the first and foremost thing you need to know is what's exactly market is expecting from all of us in this DevOps. Okay. And in that, what are the different things that we need to know? And how is that you should learn? So that's the focus completely about this session. So it's more about your career guidance and what's the roadmap that you should be picking up, because it's not going to be the same for everyone, but eventually all of us will be within the same. Okay, so that's the main focus that we want to discuss. So by saying that, my name is Adam, for those who don't know. And when we say DevOps, so what's DevOps? It's one of a domain in IT. Okay. And like how we have development, testing, administration, right? There's lots and lots of domains in IT. Now, out of that, one of the popular thing that you have as of now is DevOps. So why does company use this, or why is that company implementing this DevOps? Mainly, it's because they want to improve their business and they want to do automation as much as possible. But what's the primary purpose of doing it, right? So for any organization that you take, they need to have a bunch of people or a team called DevOps team who helps them to do their business better. But in what way? So these are the four factors that they look at. So the first thing is whatever the product that they are delivering, okay? So they need to make sure they are able to deliver that product or the service to the market as soon as possible. So let it be your Facebook, LinkedIn, or Flipkart, Amazon, or even your Hotstar, right? So whatever they are trying to develop as a product or a service, they need to deliver it to the customers, and we should be accessing it as soon as possible because the competition is so high. Products are not getting delayed in months or years. So we have weeks in which new products, new updates, or new versions of the products are coming out. So whatever they are doing, they need to do it in such a way that they should be able to deliver it as a product to the customer faster. So that's the complete focus on how soon can we bring the product to the market. The second thing is scalability. So what do you mean by scalability? So especially when we have this cricket matches, right? Especially India, Pakistan, or other matches. So you keep hearing organizations like Hotstar and others reach millions of subscriptions, right? So the same application, just on that one day or on that duration of couple of hours, the users will be heavy. So they need to be in such a level where they can accommodate all those inputs or all those traffic. Okay. So I cannot say that, hey, my application cannot support more than 1 million. Maybe for that match, I got 3 million subscription. So I should be in a situation to scale everything that I'm doing. Okay. So whether it is 1 million or 10 million users, I should be able to manage. Same thing goes with your Flipkart or Amazon sale. So whenever they put a sale, there will be lots and lots of people on that particular time they will log in. So how do you make sure your application or a business or a service is able to manage it? And I don't have time for all those things, right? So do you think Amazon will say or Hotstar will say, wait half an hour, I will try to add everything infrastructure and then give you. By that time, match or sale itself will be over. So what you have to do, so we need an ability to scale dynamically whenever we want. And scalability, whenever we say it's not just you are adding more things, you should also be able to remove unnecessary things when there is no load. So that's how you will be able to manage the cost. So every organization is looking at this scalability in their infrastructure so that they can make sure with more and more users accessing their application or service, they will be able to help them. Okay. Now, the other side is the feedback cycle. Now, what's feedback cycle? So you have your application, it's running, and you also have the ability to scale up and down whenever it is needed. But you should also be in a situation where if new improvements are expected, right, you should be able to receive it, and you should be able to develop and give back a fix for that or an upgrade for it once again in a faster way. Now that's where it's not always reliable that the application should be running in the production and the customer comes back and tells us. Within the company, whether it is a QA or whether it is something like a staging environment, you should be having the ability to capture any kind of issues, and you should be able to fail faster. So fail fast in the sense, don't wait for a customer and come back and tell you there is a problem after you put your application in production. But anywhere in your development cycle, if there is a problem, you should be able to immediately find it out. So that's the ability that you have, because this depends on your time to market. Unless and until you are not able to get the feedback faster of your product, you will not be able to deliver it, right? So let's say an example that you have your own application or you own Amazon. Will you be happy where you spent a lot of time, you developed, you tested, and then now it is in production, someone is coming back and telling you there is a problem, right? So before you put into production, you need to know that is your product with a good quality. If not, what is that we have to do to get that feedback? So that's what organizations is looking at. Okay. Now the final thing, what they also need to do is, okay, now when we say scalability, you have the ability by moving to cloud so that just by click of a command or just in seconds, you can get more and more infra. But how reliable it is? Reliable means, is it safe? Okay. Will it always run? It's not just it ran now. I always going to make sure that it is running for the next 3 days, 4 days, or whenever I want, where my application sale is there or the load is there, right? So how do you make sure that the environment, so when I say an environment, the bunch of machines, database, and other services that you need is always available for you. It's not just like you can scale, but you should make sure that all your applications and services are highly available. Because one of the reasons why cloud is so popular that we are doing everything is, let's say your whole data center is down, then you should be able to immediately get back the service in another data center with no matter of time, right? So such a kind of environment is what you're looking. Now, as a user, you don't care about all these, because let's take the same Hotstar match. I don't care what Hotstar is doing. All I want to make sure is whether I log in from my mobile or from my laptop, I need the streaming should be there with a minimum few seconds of delay, right? If not, people as a customer, we will never be happy. So for a thing like this, what organization is looking at is implementing a concept called as DevOps, which will help the organization to deliver the product as soon as possible. Okay. And at the same time, you have the ability to scale your application in production depending on the need. And you should be able to get back the feedback of your product so that you can always improve the quality of your application. And at the same time, it's not just about running everything. You need to have the ability to make sure your environment is stable and it is highly available. Okay. So this is why organizations are implementing DevOps. So typically they need people or a group of engineers who can work towards achieving this goal. Okay. So now the question comes, how do you achieve? Now to achieve it, you have to do lots and lots of automation. And when I say automation, it is not just about solving one problem. Because in a company, like a factory, how, let's say an example of a car is being manufactured, right from you bringing the raw material, you forging and you cast it, and then you design to what level you want, you paint it, and then you fix it, right? And then you test drive and then give the car or a bike to the market. So there are a lot of stages. The same way, in a software organization, a product is not just created like that. So there are the various stages that we go through, which is what we call it as life cycle. So you need to gather the requirement, develop it, test and do various testing, and then put into production where customers can access. So you have to focus on what and all are the problems at each and every level of your software development lifecycle. Okay, and for each one of them, there is going to be an automation that you have to focus. Only then you will be able to get all these things as a single result. Now that's where, as of now, when we say a company is implementing DevOps or they want to implement DevOps, so there are some automation best practices that you have to implement. Only with the help of that, you will be able to get a output or get a benefit to the company. Okay. So when we say that's what we want to understand, as of now, what are those trends in the market where when you go to a company as a DevOps engineer, what is that they expect from you? Because the expectation what they have is what you are going to work in the company. Okay, so as of now in the market, when you say DevOps, there are typically 9 best practices that company will be implementing. Okay, which is nothing but there is some automation that you will do and there is an outcome for that. So now from a very high level, if you see, what are those trends or what are those best practices that a company wants to implement by adopting to DevOps? Okay, so the first thing is infrastructure as a code. Now I'll talk about each one of them in deep now in some time, but just for now, understand what are those 9 best practices. So the first thing is infrastructure as a code. And then there's a concept called as configuration management. And then we have something called as continuous development. And we also have some concept called as continuous integration. And then we have a concept called containerization, then continuous delivery. As of now, sometimes people also call it as GitOps. And next we have continuous monitoring. And then we have something called as DevSecOps, which is nothing but security. Now, if you look at, this is only 8, but I said 9. That's because when you take containerization, further you can divide it into 2 levels. One is the normal containerization. The second part of is orchestration of containerization, which is where you hear a lot about Kubernetes. Okay, but in general, it is one. But if you actually start working, it will be divided or splitted into 2 areas. So now when you go to a company, these are all the 9 best practices that every company will have. Okay, so it is necessary for each one of us to be aware of all these things. Okay, because we never know on what problem that they want us to help. So which is where it is necessary for each one of us to know what is each one of them, what is that we are going to do, and overall at the end we will talk more about how you're going to convert yourself into a DevOps engineer. Okay, but typically, as I said, right now when you go to a market, any company implementing DevOps, they have to be aware and they will be using all these best practices or 9 strategies in order to get the benefits, whatever we were talking about, time to market, scalability, feedback, and stability of your environment. Okay. Now,